Hey Switch players, welcome to the Week in Nintendo Land, the podcast where we discuss all the news, rumours and releases happening in the world of Nintendo. Over the next hour or so, we're going to be talking about all things Pokémon, including our impressions of the Crown Tundra DLC and our thoughts on the future of the franchise, alongside a little quiz I've cooked up to test the team's Pokédex proficiency. Plus, we're going to be discussing whether the limited release of Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light is good for us fans and the industry, as well as rounding up all the new games out this week. And as always, we have our co-hosts here. They're more legendary than a Lugia. It's Anna Karasik and Nathan Ellingsworth.
I love that intro. Hi.
Did I say Lugia right? Is that the correct pronunciation? Okay, that's good. Okay, pulled that off. And I'm very excited as well because we've got a wild guest who's appeared in the form of none other than Ethan Hunt. Ethan, welcome back to the podcast.
Good evening. Thanks for having me back. I'm trying to think of something funny Pokemon-wise to say, but I suppose I'll say it for the quiz because I've not got anything. So.
Oh yeah, the quiz is going to be good. It's going to test your Pokemon knowledge to the limit. But so I hope you're ready.
How do you pronounce Lugia?
It's the height of certain Pokemon, the weight of certain Pokemon. It's going to be really, really nice. So as I said, lots to discuss and the quiz. But before we get stuck into that, let's just have a little refresher of what's been happening this week in Nintendo Land. It's time to journey to the coldest climes of the Galar region as the second Pokémon Sword and Shield DLC Crown Tundra has just been released, giving players the chance to explore Pokémon dens, catch legendaries, and battle in the Galarian Star Tournament. In a surprise announcement, Nintendo revealed the first game in the Fire Emblem series, Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light, is coming to the Switch in December, marking the first time it's ever been available in the West. But if you want to play it, you'll have to be quick. The limited release is only available until the 31st of March 2021. So, Crown Tundra, the second part of Pokémon Sword and Shield expansion pass, was released on Thursday with a brand new region to explore and lots of new Pokémon to catch. But before we get stuck into that, I just wanted to ask everyone what their thoughts were on the main game of Pokémon Sword and Shield, just so everyone kind of knows where we're coming from. Did you love the game, hate the game, or were you somewhere in the middle?
I mean, people think I all around hate the game, but there's actually a lot of stuff I love about it. And like a short list, I made a little short list.
Very prepared.
Yes. Well, I actually really like the story. I think everyone did. It comes with like really great music. You're like bopping, da 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 da, while you're in these amazing Gigantamax battles and raids, which is the other thing I liked. But I thought that the really cool stadium battles kind of highlighted one of the downsides, which is the kind of poor animations and kind of the fact that you couldn't use some of your favorite Pokemon. You still can't if you don't have the DLCs. I liked the concept of the wild area. I really liked the concept of the wild area. I didn't like the execution, but I loved the concept. I loved that they tried, but the routes do feel kind of like I saw someone say they felt like hallways, and I agree, but they look really good too. And I love the interactive stuff that happens in them. And finally, I love the clothes because I love dressing up my character. It's like one of my favorite parts of the game. Any Pokemon game where I can dress up my character or my Pokemon, like in Let's Go, where you can dress up Pikachu or Eevee.
Instant 10 out of 10 game.
Instant points. Instant points.
Okay, good.
Yes, it gets points for that.
So I've reviewed Sword and Shield and Isle of Armor so far, and I'm obviously going to be doing Crown Tundra. I gave the original. I didn't review it for Switch Play. I want to get that out of the way, but I somewhere else I gave it a 3 out of 5, because I liked a lot of the ideas, and similar to what Anna was saying. There is just so much that is a great idea, and I'm sure they're going to iterate on, and I will talk about it in the Crown Tundra because a lot of it they already have, but fell flat. The routes, the caves, the wild area, so much of it just looks flat. And also, if you're going to base it off of England, you're going to go around to all of the UK and, places like Bath and stuff like that. Like the amount of inspiration you could pull upon for like crazy Gothic architecture and stuff like that. And all of the cities, again, just looked flat and dull and you couldn't explore properly. And it's a shame because this game has got great music, great characters, It's got a lot of, a lot of nice story moments and some of the best Pokemon in a few generations. I think this is some of the strongest additions.
Some of the least kitschy looking Pokemon.
Yeah, there's a lot less novelty ones that there seem to be a lot more thought out. Even stuff like Ice Cube, who is kind of a novelty one, is he's still got a point to him in a way, and I like that. And a lot of it ties really well into the region. But stuff like even the story, again, it fell flat, and you don't see a lot of this stuff. A lot of it is kind of well, this thing's gonna happen, and it tells the whole game that the whole game it's it's gonna happen, and then at the end it's it happened, man. You weren't here, but it's all back there. I tell you, it really is. You can go into a room where it's happened, and it just felt like a
low budget movie.
Yeah,
what?
Yeah. It doesn't feel like it wasn't made with heart. It felt like it was mismanaged, and we can talk until the milk tanks come home about the mismanagement of Pokemon, the idea of a never-ending cycle of Pokemon games that cannot move because of the cards, the media, and stuff like that. And it's annoying to me that Game Freak every couple of years eke out a game with some new ideas not fully realized. Whereas when you look at other annual releases, it's a really weird comparison. But when you look at stuff like Call of Duty, they have got completely different studios. Same with that Assassin's Creed. They say, well, you can have them regularly, but they're going to be made by different people because it's mad to have one company making these games that regularly. So I think Sword and Shield are great to an extent, but I also think there's just so many missed opportunities. And my final words on all of it is just too much of it falls flat to be memorable.
I think I love Shield. I haven't played either of the DLC yet because I was waiting for both of them to come out in one fell swoop so that I could jump into it this November time, or I've not jumped into the Crown Tundra yet, but I'm going to be jumping into it soon, and then I'll obviously go through Isle of Armor first and do that one. But I absolutely smashed Shield when it came out. I've finished the Pokédex, went hunting all the Gigantamax Pokemon and all that. I was really enjoyed doing all the wild area stuff. But I think many of the points that both of you have said are completely right there. Realistically, I have to look at myself and go, to be honest, I don't even really remember half the game really. Because I actually smashed it, went through, caught all the Pokemon. There's certain Pokemon that I remember vividly and stuff, but compared to Pokemon Sapphire or something, which is just every single route of that game is ingrained in my memory. I couldn't tell you half the names of the towns and all that.
I will say a lot of the newer games feel like that, right?
Yeah. And I think with regard to the routes, that's the big thing for me really is this is one of my biggest pet peeves with the Sun and Moon. Was just the routes are just the most linear thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I thought this was partly to do with the transition out of sprite-based gameplay to the 3D thing with X and Y and stuff. But although X and Y was kind of you had the characters like a chibi style character on the screen, and you still had sort of environmental puzzles and stuff. Whereas with Sun and Moon and then X and Y, like you say, it's just a corridor, you just run in A to B, and it just makes it forgettable. Whereas if you remember some of the puzzles in Sapphire or the caves in Gen 1 and 2, which for better or worse, when you're pushing all those boulders around and stuff, it obviously got could get annoying, but
it's a lot more complicated than walking from A to B.
Exactly, yeah. And then you get rewarded with different Pokemon and stuff like that. But I think, like you say, I always had, for me, my sort of trifecta of my favourite Nintendo franchise was Pokemon, Zelda, and Mario. And I think in terms of quality of those three, it's just there's no argument between. Well, at least in my mind, I think the quality of Pokemon games compared to Mario and if you look at Odyssey and Breath of the Wild compared to Shield, it's obviously a victim of the annualization of the game. Yep. And I think that this DLC idea, even though some people had a negative reaction to the DLC, I think this is ostensibly the third game for Sword and Shield. so as opposed to having a Black and White 2 or an Ultra Sun or an Ultra Moon, where they have like a smaller bit of Game Freak working on it while they're working on the next game, they've just done this DLC, and then they're obviously thinking about what's next. But I for me personally, even though I really enjoyed Sword and Shield, I think I would like to have like a 3 or 4 year gap between the next Pokemon game, or perhaps the next one that comes out in the next year or two. Set it up with all these raids and these Gigantamax things that you can incrementally update the game with, like it's like a games of service type situation, and then you can keep that going for like 3 years, and then on the back burner you can build something that's actually going to blow people away and be like the next step. But I think as a step for it's essentially the first home console Pokemon game, isn't it? Really. I mean, we had the Let's Go games, but they were kind of like a spin-off remake of Red and Blue. So. Yeah, but overall, I mean, I'm not, like I say, it sounds a bit negative what I said, but I love the game, obviously. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gone and caught every single Pokemon. I loved exploring the wild area with different weather variations and how that affected the different Pokemon you could catch. I think the types in this game as well. Even though not every Pokemon's in it, there's quite a lot of good selection of types. So there's loads of ice types in this, with like really cool ice types like Mr. Rime and, like you were saying, Ice Key before, and Frostmoth, is it? The
Frostmoth is cool, yeah.
Yeah. So there's loads of good ice types. There's loads of good bug types, and constantly when you're doing the adventure, you're thinking, "Oh, I've only got 6 Pokemon. Who could I relegate to the box to get this person in my team and stuff?" And I always try, and when I'm going through a new run of a Pokemon game, I always try and have all Pokemon from that gen, so like new Pokemon or like Galarian forms and new forms. And with this, I was constantly finding new Pokemon all the time. That was really interesting. So, like you say, the designs of the Pokemon stand out, and that's probably the most important thing. But yeah.
See, I'm kind of like I'm a relative newcomer to the franchise because I played Pokemon Red 20 years ago, and I haven't picked up another Pokemon game since Sword and Shield. And I was really excited about it. I saw the trailers, I saw the reviews. I was like, oh my god, this is going to be incredible! I cannot wait to play it. And when I kind of booted it up, a couple of about 20 minutes in, I was like, this is kind of quite bad. I was really disappointed by the kind of the quality of it. It didn't feel like a proper.
I wasn't expecting you to say that.
I think the graphical thing as well. Like I've seen there's a meme going around at the moment, isn't there? Where it's like, or it's probably been going around for a while, but it's like like the picture of Genshin Impact next to like Pokemon Sword.
It's so unfair, these comparisons.
Yeah,
it's definitely
unfair.
It's definitely an unfair comparison, but then at the same time, I think realistically, when you're walking around the wild area, it is boring.
It's not just boring. It looks like it's not even finished.
Yeah. It just is boring.
You can look.
It's like Hyrule. It's like Hyrule Fields from Ocarina of Time level of detail.
It's like a GameCube game. Yeah.
Yeah,
I found the Pokemon animations as well. When they're turning around and their legs are just moving. And they just spin. I was like, this is laughably bad. This is like an unfinished game. Yeah.
That's what I meant about the raid battles, because you have this giant Pokemon and it's epic looking and it's like boop. And
yeah.
One thing
it's one of them though, and isn't it? It's like you can't win, because if you were to have that Breath of the Wild style Pokemon game that everyone's talking about, realistically you could only really focus on a set number of Pokemon to have those animations, where to have like a Charizard climbing up the side of a mountain, like in Pokemon Snap or something, for every encounter to feel cinematic, you'd have to focus on a core set of Pokemon, and then you're just going to trigger the fans that want all 3,000 Pokemon in the game. So you can't really win with that. So that's why I quite rate what they've done with this game, because they've got everything to a standardized point now, where you've got this app where you can transfer everything across, you've got the raids, you've got everything that's sort of coming together. And so I think the next game, or the next whatever comes next, can sort of keep this going and keep it as a living entity, while the fingers crossed go, right, let's batten down the hatches now and make a banging game for 5 years time that's going to be the future of Pokemon.
Yeah, I think one thing I find interesting is a lot of people. I'm very much the same, where I've explained and I've talked about the problems I've got with Pokemon Sword and Shield for so long. But I love playing this game, man, to this day. But it's not because of the game. It's because I love Pokemon. And as opposed to things like Mario and Zelda, if there's a bad Zelda game, like, you know, in 2011, then you can kind of go and play something like Okami, or you can, you know, even the stuff like Darksiders. There's options. And, you know, when Mario games aren't so good, you're like, well, maybe I'll pick up A Hat in Time or New Super Lucky's Tale. Whereas Pokemon, you're tied into this architecture because you've got a team that's nearly 20 years old and you've got these Pokemon already. You've played the last one. You're going to buy the next Pokemon game regardless. And they know that. And I think that is an insidious angle. And sometimes, you know, Mario and Zelda, if it's bad, you won't buy it. Whereas Pokemon, they kind of know the fans are going to, and that's what worries me.
Or else your Pokemon are stuck in
exactly.
limbo.
If you play professionally, you can't play on Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon anymore. Which is a shame.
But I guess we admit that Sword and Shield had some flaws. The first part of the DLC Isle of Armor, was that a course correction, or was that more of the same, do you think?
For me, that addressed a lot of the issues. I certainly liked having an area that was a little bit more lively. There was a little bit more of exploration to it. But my biggest bugbear with Isle of Armor was it sold you a lot of features that should have been in the base game. You know, so suddenly you could make a soup to make any Gigantamax Pokemon that was capable. You could then choose to Gigantamax them. Like, I caught a shiny Center Scorch, the little centipede guy. But it wasn't a Gigantamax one because I didn't get him in a raid den. But with the DLC, I could make him a Gigantamax one, and that was really cool. But there was a couple of things like that and other things as well that was like, it's kind of scummy. You're making people pay 30 quid for this, but not as scummy as buying an entire new game like Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon.
Yeah, I think as well. Like, I think that matters for like that. I didn't even know that you could. Because obviously I've not played Isle of Armor either, but I didn't even know that you could do that and make a Pokemon's Dynamax Gigantamax. Yeah, because obviously that was a bugbear of mine as well. If you've got a shiny Pokemon or a Pokemon that you've had from the beginning, and it's only a Dynamax, and you've leveled up its Dynamax ability, and then you find one you find like one that's Gigantamax. Obviously, you want to be able to have that, don't you, to take advantage of its moves. But, so obviously that's good to know. But I think, I get what you're saying. But then I think the sort of people that care about that sort of stuff are definitely getting the season pass anyway. So because the average, like my brother, for example, who got Sword to go alongside mine, like just a casual player, to the point where I ended up just robbing his Switch to just transfer all the version exclusives over because he hadn't even bothered to catch them for me. But like someone like that, or like the average like kid playing Pokemon, I don't think they'd really care about that. But
see, I want to comment on something you said, Nathan. You said, they charge this much for it, but I'd rather that than a third game. And I hear that a lot about this. And I want to keep making us wary of the fact that there can be a world where we get those things in the game that seem like they should be in the game. And they don't sell us a third game that's basically a copy of the two games that are also a copy of each other. Because they're selling us a lot of things, and they've been selling us a lot of things we don't need, but we're going to buy them anyway, like we've been saying. And we need to strive for a better Pokemon, a better Game Freak, a better Nintendo, a better whatever, better sales model, whatever this is. Because I know it has to do with the anime and the game. They got to pump it all out, but they don't need to be releasing 2 of every game and a third or a DLC.
Yeah.
Nathan, you kind of spoke about kind of DLC that either is missing parts sold back to you or actual quality DLC. We're here to talk about Crown Tundra.
Yeah.
Where does Crown Tundra fall in that? Is it a worthy piece of DLC, or is it just another thing that's been tacked on and reselling you things that you should have had originally in the base game?
Yeah, so I felt a little bit guilty about it because I've been really enjoying the Crown Tundra DLC. And it's bittersweet because it is kind of like, here's what you could have won. It's shown me a lot of the stuff that I did feel was missing, a lot of cutscenes, a lot of cool interactions with legendaries. Like when you find the Galarian birds, so Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno all have really cool new forms in this one. And when you find them, you get a really cool cutscene. It's kind of baked into the lore of the area. The same with Calyrex and the story around Calyrex as well. It's really smartly implemented into the town of Frostington, I think it's called that, which is where, the first town you're going to find in the Crown Tundra. And it adds a lot of...
I love that name. It's just a pure British name. And
I know. I do love the like British names they've added to this. It's brilliant. Yeah. But like it's really cleverly baked a lot of the lore and the explanations behind it into the world. And the Crown Tundra itself, the wild area sections of that, there's a lot more verticality. There's a lot more difference in kind of the foliage and stuff and the things you'll find, as well as the amount of Pokemon you kind of see up and around. So it's just such an improvement, and it just goes to show like they've been given a bit more time. Game Freak have just had a bit more time here. Say they finished what we got as Sword and Shield, you know, probably January, February last year, and then the second half of the year was like kind of troubleshooting and stuff like that. So they probably had over a year or so to really fine tune what the Crown Tundra is going to be, and it's a really great in kind of idea of what the next game's going to be, kind of how much it's going to grow. And I tell you what, I really love stuff like Gigantamaxing, especially because now we've got this new Gigantamax raids, which is how we get loads of the returning legendaries. So because of these raids, has anybody seen? Do you know the gist of them?
Yeah.
So
like dens, isn't it? Pokemon Den or something. Yeah.
So instead of being able to use your own Pokemon, you have to use rental Pokemon. You get shown the types of the Pokemon you're going to face and the type of the one at the end. And the one at the end is very likely going to be a legendary or a pseudo legendary or, you know, a very good Pokemon. So
I get the Dratini lines back in this one as well, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all of the pseudo legendary lines. So Dratini, Salamence.
Oh, I love a good Salamence, me, you know.
What's the other one? Not Flygon isn't a pseudo legendary. You know what I mean?
Flygon's been back.
The ones
Thank God.
Just before
I would have boycotted the game.
It's what's his face, isn't it? The one that looks like a little dinosaur from Sun and Moon.
Yes.
With the ice type. I can't remember what it's called.
But a lot of those are back. A lot of the kind of especially missing ones are back. And so kind of what you get to do is, so you choose your rental Pokemon, and because you've been shown the types of the Pokemon you're going to face, you're like, okay, cool. Well, I'll start with a water. Like I started with a Poliwrath the other day. And you have to be really smart about it because your Pokemon, you can maybe bump into some berries to recover HP, but generally you kind of have that one unless you catch another one and then you swap. So the other day I had what did I have at the end? I think it was Zygarde. So I had to plan. I was like, right, I'm going to finish on a dragon type. So I need to get an ice type or I need to get a fairy type. So I picked up a Togetic along the way, and Togetic helped me like smash it. It's so smart, and it's the best challenge I've had in a Pokemon game in a while. Also, if you get to Zygarde or Suicune or someone else, if you don't catch it, they remember the route, so you can just go and try it again. So instead of you having to go into another randomized den, they're just like, do you want to go and try Zygarde again? So it's really respectful of your time in that sense. Also, the shiny chance is super high. So I say high, I think it's 1 in 300 and it's 1 in 100 with a shiny charm. So if you wanted to shiny hunt for the non-shiny locked legendaries, you can do that really well. So that's really good for collectors. Like it's just added so much cool stuff, and I'm really loving the new designs. Oh my God, I love Galarian Slowking. He's my favorite. And Reggie Drago and Reggie Alecki. I'm really, really having a good time with it. But man, I wish this had been a part of the original game. I wouldn't have been anywhere near as upset. I wouldn't have been anywhere near as down on them. And if this had been the post game, you know, that would have been great, because once you did Sword and Shield and you got your sword or your shield wolf and you got the weird big space creature, you were done. That was it. There was no legendaries. That was a full stop in a game that I'd been having so much fun with for hours and hours before, and I wasn't ready to be done with. Whereas this is adding that. It's also adding the Star Tournament, which is an even like a tougher set of battles, similar to like the Battle Tower, and then you can unlock stuff through that. Man, I think Crown Tundra is really, really good. And if you've loved Sword and Shield, I do think this DLC is probably worth the money, but it all comes with the caveats of everything we said. It doesn't need to be said again, but it all comes with the caveats of this should have been in the base game, because, you know, if this had all been as one package, I easily would have been talking 4.5 for Sword and Shield. Yeah, I wish it looked better, but this wild area looks much better, much more detailed. There's much more kind of like particles and stuff moving around, and yeah, you know, it's done now. I'm super happy with where we've ended up. I'm loving this, and I'm looking forward to the next Pokemon game. I hope it isn't next year. I hope we get a remake in this Crown Tundra engine, you know, and they kind of add some more stuff, and just kind of fine tune it. I don't need a complete overhaul. I don't need another, like, okay, instead of Z moves, let's do Gigantamax. Like, just do one thing and just fine tune it. I don't need you to, you know, you're throwing out the baby with the bathwater every time. And I think Pokemon ends up missing so much because it changes so much, when actually everyone just kind of wants them to refine it. And Crown Tundra, to me, is a really good refinement of what the original game was.
That's what I was going to ask you about, was what was the difficulty like? So obviously with it being a post game, ideally post game content, I didn't really find much challenge at all in this main game of Sword and Shield. There was maybe one or two times where I was in a bit of a clutch moment in like the final battles and stuff like that, the final stadium battles, but largely it's not really a difficult game, is it really? So that's what I was interested to know, was what was the challenge like. And then also obviously it's great that we're getting all these legendaries and mythical Pokemon, but do you think that, because like only it seems since probably about Black and White 2, mythicals are just getting absolutely lobbed at you every day, whereas back in the day on like the Game Boy Advance or even prior to that, it seems like mythicals and legendaries actually meant something to me personally anyway, whereas now it seems like every 2 weeks you see a Twitter notification to go into your local game to get a shiny Lugia or something like that. It's like there's nothing sacred about like getting these Pokemon and getting them from events or getting them from certain games and stuff like that. Do you get what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think one of the things that is certainly missing in the series for me, and I've spoken to friends about this before, is I don't mind having a lot of the legendaries in the game if there is a quest for them, if there's a story. You know, even stuff like in Diamond and Pearl, like getting Heatran was particularly difficult, and then some of the mythicals, like Deoxys added a kind of story mission even when you downloaded Deoxys. It's not like nowadays where you go to the Pokemon Center and they're like, here's Victini. You're like,
yeah.
Oh,
you had to like go somewhere to get Deoxys. It was cool.
That was like our Genesect. Like I think it was Black and White 2. If you pre-ordered it, you get Genesect level 15, and then it's like I could just absolutely annihilate I kept it in the box the entire time because it's just not fair, because you just destroy the entire game if you've got it. So what's the point?
Yeah, like I it would be lovely if a lot more Pokemon were involved in it, because, you know, they've got this great kind of history now of these mythicals, of these legendaries. I'd like them to be baked into the new stories, and the Galarian birds is a really good way of being like, hey, but they're kind of different in this land. You know, I feel like so much of the actual mysticism of them is lost when you just get them delivered. And I think Crown Tundra does both in a good way. It both gives you the old ones in a difficult and hard-earned way. Like, it's not easy to get these legendaries, not at all. And then also these other new ones, it bakes them into the story so well that it feels also earned. Difficulty-wise, the Pokemon in the overworld are all about 65, 70. Some of the tough battles you're going to be going up against are kind of level 70, 80. But, you know, my whole team's level 100 because I've got a EV trained competitive team, so I'm just going around to smashing everyone. But that's why the dens to me have been so much fun, because it's like not arbitrary rules, but they've forced this upon you, and I'm having to think again. So that to me, because, you know, Pokemon's backed themselves into this corner of like, yeah, you can start a new game and you can go around. Also, you can download all of your old Pokemon who are just utter beasts.
Yeah,
so I guess you
think
can
that
complete the game in a minute if you want. So
I
that's
mean,
why.
I didn't buy the DLC, obviously. And a few weeks ago, I was like, oh, months ago now, I got home and everything, and I got all my old Pokemon from my DS, and I put them all into my, I put the ones I could into Shield, and I realized that, like, I had a pretty good competitive team. I actually had gone to VGC once or twice a long time ago before it got, like, really competitive. So they weren't, like, that good, but they were better than your average Joe. And I could put, like, a fourth of them into my game. There were so many of them that were not in Sword and Shield. And I was like, I was mad. That's all. No other words. I was mad. Bro.
I've been really happy to get Metagross has always been one of my favorite Pokemon. So I'm super happy they've added him back in Crown Tundra.
Why is everyone's favorite Pokemon?
He's on my competitive team.
My favorite Pokemon, I struggle with this quite a lot. It's between Psyduck and Totodile.
Two incredible choices, really. My favorite's Raichu, so not the Alolan variant, but just the standard Raichu. Although I do have to give a shout out to Linoon as well, who's got a Galarian third evolution in this game, which I was absolutely buzzing about. And his ability as well, obstruct, if you're using physical based attacks, that was just it was amazing to play.
And that like rock and roll theme is neat.
Exactly,
like it.
yeah.
Very,
but yeah, Linoon is an
UK.
absolute Dom Pokemon.
Who thought Gene Simmons was getting a Pokemon?
Oh my god, I know.
So I guess Crown Tundra kind of draws a line under Pokemon Sword and Shield. What is next for this franchise? We know we've got Pokemon Snap coming, Pokemon Unite. What does everyone want from the next main Pokemon game?
What do we want, or what is the future?
What is the future, and what does everyone want? I think.
Let's not be so cynical.
my perfect future would be, like I was saying before, they take the time, or they create a next game that's like a Sword and Shield like sequel type thing, but like just they use that hub that they've created, get every single Pokemon in there, have it more content complete from the start, have it as a service, so they update it with new what they called new raids and all that. And then while they've got that clocking along, they get their heads down and take the time and make something that's actually different rather than just an annualized thing. But for what I would want would be, first of all, on the 3DS, we got red and blue, and we got the silver and gold on there as well, didn't we, on Virtual Console? And you could even transfer the Pokemon from that to your box, couldn't you? To get them into the full game. So ideally, I'd love to see that on the Switch, or please give me Sapphire and Ruby on the Switch. I'd absolutely love that. Just get those classic games on there, and they can do that at any time, can't they? If they're not planning on having a Pokemon game coming out that year, they can just go, we'll give you the old ones to tide you over for the time being. But I think they could even do something like an Octopath Traveler type thing, because the sprite art's my favorite. I don't think there'll ever be a new Pokemon game that'll ever top Sapphire for me, just because I like the sprite art that too much. To me, that's Pokemon as well. So I think something like that, where if they had like a B team while this A team's working on the big next Breath of the Wild-esque thing, GTA Pokemon type thing, we always see those Unreal videos on YouTube and all that. While they're making that, give us like a sprite art Pokemon game that's like proper good. But yeah, we can all dream, can't we?
Well, I think we will see some remakes. I don't think maybe we'll see. I think it is a dream to see the sprite art ones. But I think it's not so much of a dream that we're going to see reboots. And like, that's not really such a bad thing, because like you were saying, Ethan, I mean, they're good. They're great. I mean, Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, amazing. Heart Gold, Soul Silver, legendary. I'm totally down for another one, but I would submit that although Sapphire is one of my favorite games of all time. It's right under Majora's Mask of my all-time favorite game. With that said, I think next in line for a remake should be Diamond and Pearl, because they're underrated. They haven't had a remake. They're really good games. I also think that what I would like to see would be a game where you get the basics. You get what they promise you, right? You get your 150 whatever new Pokemon. And then, like, let's say you just get those, which is pretty par for the course. All right, I'm just going to get those. Or you just get those and some select few, fine. The features that come later, because there should be post support. There should be new features that come later to keep the excitement going for this game. And by the way, in my perfect world, there's only one new Pokemon game, not two, but I know that's not going to happen because, like you also said, Ethan, they're not going to do that. But I think they should, but they won't. But if they did, I think that whatever they sell us later to keep the excitement going for the next year or two until the next release, major release, it should be. It should be. I mean, I think a lot of what you explained, Nathan, about Crown Tundra sounds like something I wouldn't mind being sold back to me. It's the things that come along with it, right? Like, I wouldn't mind them selling me like a romp that includes a new wild area and all this, but it's the principle of it all. And the things that are also wrapped up in that package and the things I'm paying for that they're saying, someone else, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. And every time someone buys it, they don't know that I'm buying it hesitantly and begrudgingly. They just know I'm buying it, and they sold another one. And that's why I would prefer them to just be like you again, Ethan, creative about the experience. I want to see things like what you explained, Nathan, with Crown Tundra. I don't mind that being sold back to me in a DLC. As long as it's not being sold back to me, oh, by the way, you can only do this or this or this if you have the DLC. Yes.
I guess the problem is because of the merchandise, the anime, it makes so much money. I guess Nintendo, they don't want to rock the boat too much and hand the kind of property over to another studio to develop a game when Game Freak are making serviceable games that people are buying. It's making so much money. Why change that kind of formula if it is generating so much money for them?
If it ain't broke.
Nintendo don't own Game Freak, nor do they own the rights to Pokemon. Game Freak and the Pokemon Company do. So if the Pokemon Company decided that all future Pokemon games came out on PS5, there's nothing Nintendo could do. So
they should just buy them. They should just buy them, shouldn't? Although that would be messy. That would be messy, though, wouldn't it? Because you couldn't because even though they don't own the franchise, all the previous games are on their systems, so it would be starting anew, wouldn't they? But they should just put the money down, buy them, right? If anyone's watching from the Pokemon Company, then take notes. Professor Oak, if you sat there watching the podcast, right, get your notepad out and write this down, right, or get your Rotom Pokedex out, whatever you've got. We need an Octopath Traveler style game where you can travel to every single Poke MMO, right? Where you can travel to every single region that's ever created. Have it all sprite art. Start from Kanto, so you've got all that nostalgia to get all the old heads in. Maybe integrate it with smartphone support or something like that, and then just be able to go to Johto, be able to go to Hoenn, be able to go to Sinnoh, be able to go to all that, and then just
yeah,
it's actually upset me a bit now, to be honest, because I'm just thinking about how good it could potentially be. And
you know what though? I remember a time sitting on my parents' bed playing like old games like that and thinking, man, I was playing games on my GameCube because my parents had the TV in their room, and I would sit there and play like Harvest Moon and think, man, I wish I could be playing Pokemon on this TV right now instead of on my bed like this on my Game Boy. And what do you know? I mean, here we are, where as much as I'm bitching and moaning about things in Sword and Shield, I can play it on a beautiful 4K television. And as much as the game maybe doesn't look as good as it should, I can play it on a console. I got what like my little kid self-dreamed. And I feel like, we're not little kids, but here we are saying, man, I wish there was a Pokemon game where we could go to all the regions. Like, if it seems like kind of like another matter of time kind of thing, where it may not be tomorrow, the next day, but if Pokemon doesn't go under, which it's probably, I don't see
Never
any
will.
writing. There's no writing on the wall ever for that. That's like saying if Zelda goes under, no.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere. I think it's somewhere online.
You want to into the Pokéverse.
Oh yeah, I imagine.
Yeah. I think for the next games for me, very briefly, the only thing I want, you've touched on a lot of the stuff I want in terms of expansion of like improving animations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What I would quite like is for it to feel kind of wild and like a real new area again. Because I think only since like Sun and Moon was so linear, it didn't feel like an exploration for me. Whereas Emerald's one of my favorite ones because it felt really tropical. What I'd love to see is a region based on something like South America or Madagascar, where you kind of really are out in the thick of it. And there can still be towns and stuff around, but it'd be so cool to get something really like heavy foliage, proper beating sunshine, something like that.
Perhaps even affect the area around you somehow.
Yeah. I'd love for it to feel like a proper kind of adventure again.
Right, adventure.
But that's as well as a lot of stuff that's already been covered and we've talked about a lot. I think that's one thing I'd really like to see. A kind of bright, rich, vibrant region.
As much as Pokemon is on a console, like I just said, it doesn't feel like, it feels like a 3DS game right now that they put on the Switch and they ramped it up a little bit.
That is what it is.
And it would be really cool to have a Pokemon game that is, I hate to use this comparison. I really hate to use this comparison, but open your mind a little bit. Maybe not, more of like a Super Mario Odyssey to the other games, where Odyssey is like more of an open world concept from what the other ones did. I would love to see a more open world concept of Pokemon, like take the wild area times 10. Instead of us being in these routes, like think more outside the route, think outside the box. That would be something I think that would be most welcome. I don't think anyone would be opposed to that. It would just be a heap of work.
Yeah, these all sound like great ideas. So I guess if in 3 or 4 years' time these games come out, we know Game Freak or someone at Game Freak's listening to the podcast, and they're desperately taking notes.
When we're famous, no big deal.
Exactly. Yeah, we came up with that game, whatever. So let's move on to Fire Emblem, the first Fire Emblem game. Last week, Nintendo announced pretty much out of nowhere that they were releasing the original Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon, and the Blade of Light on Nintendo Switch on December the 4th. And I guess it's the first time the game has been released in the West. But what's caught everyone's attention is that it's another limited release. You have to buy it, download it before March 31st, 2021.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So it's another, after 3D Mario All-Stars, this is another limited release game. So is it worrying that Nintendo are sticking with this kind of this limited release strategy, this Nintendo Vault that they've kind of done before?
I think this is a great second game to do it with, because it's I don't think anyone's really that bothered. Well, I don't know. I'm not really bothered about this being a timed exclusive, because it's more of a limited sort of niche thing than the Mario collection. There's a big deal about it, a big hullabaloo about the Mario 3D collection being a timed exclusive. I don't think as many people are going to be bothered about this, because it's more of a niche like sort of Nintendo game, and I think it's a good way of them Trojan horsing in the fact that they're doing this. And then when the Zelda collection comes along next year, potentially for their anniversary, they can go, we've been doing it for a while now. I've been doing it with all these games, mate. But so yeah, but I'm not really that bothered about it being timed, to be honest. I mean, I think I said this about the Mario collection. It doesn't really make any difference to us, because we're going to buy the games regardless. So it doesn't make any difference to us. But it is a bit worrying. But it definitely works. Obviously, Mario 3D All Stars had incredible sales.
Because of the time limit, though? Do you think?
I definitely think it's driven it, because from anecdotal evidence, I think some of the podcasts I've listened to, some of the people I've spoken to, that's the sort of game that you would buy, perhaps in the winter or next year when you've got nothing to play. You go, I can go and play Super Mario 64.
You
But,
can't sleep on it.
Exactly, you can't sleep on it. You have to buy it. So there's probably a lot of people that haven't even started playing it yet, but they just bought it straight away just so they've got it on the Switch.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
That's going to be me with this game, because when I saw the trailer for it, I've never really played any Fire Emblem games before. I've only played the Game Boy Advance one, which I asked you what it was called before, didn't I, Nathan? But I forgot what it was. What's it called? The GBA
I think
one?
it's Sacred Stones, the one that came with the Ambassador program on the 3DS.
That's exactly it. I only played it because I got it with my 3DS as like a free download for the Ambassador thing. And I've played a bit of Fire Emblem. Is it Fire Emblem Heroes on the phone?
The mobile one.
Yeah. Played a bit of that, but obviously that's sort of like a dumbed down version of Fire Emblem. But other than that, I've never played them. So, and I'm the sort of person who likes to go back to the first game. Like when I started playing Metal Gear Solid, rather than starting with the Phantom Pain, I was like, I can't play the Phantom Pain. I've got to go and play the original on the PS1 before I get the Kojima injection into my brain before I can get to 5. So that when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is a great opportunity for me to go and play Fire Emblem. But again, it's one of those games where I wouldn't really buy it straight away. I'd wait. But obviously now I can't do that. So they've bagged my purchase by forcing my hand, essentially.
Yeah. That does influence my decision to buy it a little bit as well. So I kind of am eating my words.
I think there's a couple of things at play, and very briefly, physical production, I can kind of understand a window of physical production. They're not making the SNES classics or the NES classics anymore because they wouldn't be selling as much and they were a limited product, blah, 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 blah. But 3D All-Stars and this to a lesser extent, people probably do want to buy physical after the fact, and now they don't have the option. And digital scarcity, that is ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. Cutting a cutoff point of digital is just stupid, and it really angers me. Especially because some people can't afford things sometimes. What if you're that family that scraped and saved to get a Switch this year, and you just can't get the Mario games into next year, and then you can't get them? That hurts me to think of, because that is going to happen to someone. There's enough people that will happen to someone. But so from Nintendo's point of view, their business year ends March 30th. So they want to push as many console sales and software sales. So that is kind of what the drive is behind this. They're like, okay, well, just say Mario's going to end on this date and say Fire Emblem's going to end on this date. We'll sell a load of Switches because people are going to buy, some people are going to be the lapsed gamers are going to be like, okay, finally on my Switch, I can play Galaxy 64, all of these, and that I'll buy a Switch now. And also the other thing to remember is, and this is all, maybe it's going to happen, maybe it's not, but we are due new hardware next year. And one thing I really wouldn't be surprised we see is, because did we get any additions to Nintendo Switch Online this year like we've been getting yearly? No, we didn't. Because what would they have added? N64 games? Would you have paid 60 quid for Super Mario All-Stars then? No, you wouldn't have. So what I think we are going to see is with the Switch Pro, like we did with the new 3DS that got an expanded kind of SNES sort of thing, which again, the regular 3DS could run SNES games. That was crappy, man. That was rubbish. But I think we're going to see a similar thing here, where they're going to bring out a new architecture, and maybe when the Switch Pro comes up, maybe we're going to see a change to Nintendo Switch Online. Maybe we're going to see a tier system where you can pay more, because right now it's a really good deal. Even though it's only NES, SNES, Tetris Online, and Mario 35, which also disappears, it's a pretty good deal. Whereas I think if they started to put on, okay, well, here's N64 games, here's Game Boy games, here's Game Boy Advance games, then it becomes too good. So I think we're going to see a shake up to what Nintendo Switch Online is. And also, Nintendo are the House of Mario. April 1st, I'll bet pretty much anything in the world, April 1st, you will be able to buy Mario 64, Super Mario Galaxy, and Super Mario Sunshine on your Switch in some form.
I think it's longer than that, because I was going to ask you about that. I was going to ask you all about that. Was do we obviously with there's rumors that those games are going to appear on the eShop or on Nintendo Switch Online later down the line anyway, which they have to, don't they? Really, but I think it's going to be longer than April 1st, just because I think it'll leave a sour taste in the miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might be
I
right.
think-
You
I
might
think
be
it's
right.
going to be. I think it's going to be 6 months, and I think it's going to be fall 2021 or like September this time next
Yeah.
year type situation where they'll go. All right, they're available now.
Yeah.
You-
Otherwise,
you
I think
might be
people
right,
think
yeah.
they're duped. I think people
Yeah.
think they're duped if
Yeah,
it's like,
if-
suddenly it becomes available. You can just download it
if-
anyway,
if
whatever
you-
game you want.
Downloaded and paid for Mario All Stars on March 31st or 30th, can't remember what it goes to. And then the next day they were like, and now Nintendo Switch Online is £5 more. And
Right.
But then, if that's the case, you just be part of a Super Mario All Stars ambassador. You're getting a Super Mario All Stars ambassador certificate where you get like a special star pack or something.
you get all of the GBA ports of the Super Mario games with the e-reader levels, everything. You get all of those.
I will speak for the people. I'm not one of these people, but speak for the people who would say, well, a lot of the people who are getting All-Stars, a lot of the people who get All-Stars are going for the physical and stuff like that because they want the collector aspect of having like another Mario game on their shelf. So the having them on the eShop won't really make them feel duped. I am not one of these people who feels that way, but I'll give voice to them.
Yeah.
But
Definitely,
yeah,
I think if the like, 'cause obviously I bought it physically. I would be happy if that was the case because these games deserve to be as available as possible. But I just think for it to be as big of a deal as it was, for them to then turn around and go, we got the money now, boys, we secured the bag. Yeah, they're actually on the eShop, mate. Don't worry about it.
I don't think they'll be that brazen. They're pretty brazen. Not that brazen.
You talked about the kind of the collector's aspect, and the thing that kind of got me about the Fire Emblem game was they're releasing like a $50 collector's edition that comes with like a
good.
a
Amazing,
NES
isn't
instruction manual, NES style box, a game pack art piece, a 222-page art book. And I was kind of thinking, as I saw the trailer and everything, I saw this collector's edition. I was thinking, where the hell was this for the Mario 3D All Stars collection?
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I wanted for that. I would like instantly.
Hey,
bought that. So-
Imagine
as long as we get something like that for Zelda.
Car, like
Perhaps it's that this reminds me of like a limited run games situation, which is actually fascinating to see Nintendo themselves doing that. And you were saying as well about having a game on your shelf, like in the NES box. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure it's the same dimensions as a normal NES game. So like people who have physical NES games can put it alongside it, and it would be like an actual thing. But perhaps it was a production issue, having like a collector's edition of the Mario thing, just because obviously it would sell a lot more than Fire Emblem. But and obviously with COVID and everything, they probably couldn't fulfill that. But because there was already stock issues with physical copies of 3D All Stars as it was, never mind a collector version. But all in all, it looks like a brilliant little collector's edition, doesn't it? With the little cartridge, the commemorative cartridge and all that.
I will give Nintendo the benefit of the doubt of like, we've spoken at length before, and John, our previous guest, has got a lot more knowledge of this than I do. But Nintendo have been very coy about, and they have not admitted how much COVID has affected them in terms of both them strictly in Japan, but also as a global production company. The games are produced and made in China. A lot of this other stuff has to come in from different areas. Like, this is a global thing for every single release that is so dependent on different schedules, different suppliers, and obviously this year every single country person has had a spanner thrown to the works. And I think maybe this they've known isn't going to sell anywhere near as much as 3D Mario 3D All Stars. So they can be like, okay, we will really throw a party for this one because they love Fire Emblem. I came across really down on it. I'm really excited for this. I'm really excited to play this game because ever since I'm a proper Fairweather Fire Emblem fan, I came on with the 3DS games, man. That was when they got good. That's when I came in. I was like, I bought Awakening. I was like, these are great now. I can't believe I thought this was for nerds before. So I'm kind of excited to go back. And they're adding accessibility options. They're adding battle speeds. They're adding save states. They're doing a really good job of not only celebrating this game but also preserving it. But I do sympathize that they've probably had a tough year, and I think they they obviously planned a lot more for Mario. I don't think Super Mario 3D World was meant to be next year. You think of the E3 conference we were meant to have, we were meant to have like this big brass band doing all the Mario stuff. I think in March or February, probably, because I'm not quite sure when it got to the point where they had to sit down and think about it. They looked at what they could and couldn't do, and 50-60% of things got cut. And I think we're lucky we got shoes. I think we're lucky we got Super Mario Kart Tour. I think in terms of global strategizing and making it all working, making it all actually come out to the day, they've probably been working day and night.
And there's a lot. There is a lot, isn't there? Like you say, Mario Kart Tour. Mario's on the mind, definitely. And I actually think the schedule of 3D World is better as well, because I finished Super Mario 64 because I was going for 120 stars on that. I've barely touched the other two because there's so much other stuff going on. So I actually think that's better having that game next year, because there's a lot of Mario to there's a lot of mushrooms to swallow.
All Stars would have probably been released earlier in the year.
That's
the thing.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
I think there would have been a decent gap between them either way. But But unless they've got a very good reason, unless they do have a new Switch Online architecture with new hardware, which is, it's rumored, but it's also inevitable. We are getting new hardware. I'm sure we are. Also, very quickly and anecdotally, I was walking on the beach the other day because I walk my dog on the beach, and there was a small child with his mum who came over to me and was like, "Oh, I love your Super Mario jacket." And I was like, "Oh, thanks, man. I write for a couple of Nintendo magazines." And he was like, "I really want to get a Switch." And the mum was like, "I might get you one for Christmas." I looked at them and I went, "There's going to be a Switch Pro in March, actually. It's going to be announced in January in a conference, because I'm dead certain we're going to get a repeat of the 2017 Switch conference." I was like, "It's going to be announced in January, and it might be called the Switch Advance. It might be called the Switch Pro, but it's probably coming in March. So wait." And the kid was like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, man. Yeah." And I was like, I walked away and I was like, he's probably going to tell people in his school that. I met someone on the beach.
That kid's going
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
I met a guy who writes for Nintendo magazines.
Nintendo came out of the ocean and told me about it.
With that mustache, you might be like, "I met Mario on the beach, and he told me there's going to be
a was wearing the Mario hat as well." Yeah.
No, dude. Oh my god. You can see his friends making fun of him.
I know. I felt so bad afterwards. I was like, he's definitely gonna exaggerate that as well.
Yeah.
It might be the cool kid on the playground who just has his finger on the pulse, knows what's before happens.
March 26th, he's gonna look so smart.
That's the modern equivalent of my uncle works at Nintendo, isn't it?
Yeah.
All the ladies are gonna like that kid after March.
Exactly. So like we said, Fire Emblem that's out on the 4th of December. But out this week, we have a number of releases to look forward to, or a few. We've got Oddworld New and Tasty, which I think, Nathan, you're reviewing for Switch player.
For Switch player, yes.
And we've also got Ocean 2 Knights of the Lost Realm. But the big game I'm sure everyone's going to be picking up is Pikmin 3.
Pikmin!
Is everyone excited for that game?
Yes.
Stoked.
Day one purchase straight away?
100%. I bought it on the Wii U. I completed it. It's so good. I'm so happy to give them more money for Pikmin, to tell them to make more. Yeah. I will. If I could send a letter to them with 100 quid in, it'd be like, "Pikmin 4, please." I would.
Yeah. Which the next Switch. I don't know why I stuttered so much. The next Switch player that's coming out has got loads of features in about Pikmin. I did one which touched on Pikmin 4. Because that apparently got announced to Eurogamer like 5 years ago. So there's some sort of there's some confusion as to whether that was talking about Hey Pikmin, which is the better forgotten 3DS platformer. In my opinion, it was absolutely painfully mediocre. But I would love Pikmin 4, but I'm buzzing with Pikmin 3. To be honest, it's the best usage of the Wii U gamepad on the Wii U, in my opinion. In terms of like a non-gimmick.
More than Mario Maker?
Yeah, Mario. I just think my favorite experiences of the Wii U gamepad were in Wind Waker HD or Twilight Princess HD, where you could just switch out things in the inventory and have the minimap and just it enhanced.
Yeah.
I will say those were great. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the same with Pikmin 3, where you had this. It became, you know, like how you have the Game Boy Horror in Luigi's Mansion. You had the cop pad, which is like the Wii U gamepad, and it was actually a part of the world. And you could take first-person pictures with the camera. You could assign things from the gamepad. You could see where your Pikmin are up to. You could see how many you've got following you, and it just enhanced the experience. And that was the ideal sort of second screen experience for me with the Wii U. So that was my favorite usage of the gamepad. So I'm interested to see, because I haven't gotten around to playing the demo yet, which obviously you want to play, don't you, to make sure that you get that extra spicy mode or whatever. But I haven't got around to playing it, so I'm interested to see how that stuff's translated over. But from the looks of things, it seems to have all translated over well, and if anything, it looks a little bit better. So happy as Larry.
See, to me,
same.
I played through the demo, I've completed it. I always preferred Pikmin with the Wii pointer controls, and the split Joy-Con method, very similar to Super Mario Galaxy, worked perfectly. That is the most comfortable way to play Pikmin in my eyes, in terms of pointing where your whistle goes and delineating where stuff goes. I mean, I think in terms of organizing different commanders and then, you know, splitting stuff, like, okay, you need to go from this point of the map. When it gets to really complicated, that's when the Wii U gamepad really came in. But in terms of moment-to-moment gameplay, I think the pointer controls have always been, for me, my preferred way.
Yeah.
So
that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it. I prefer that sort of different play style to you, and all of those different gameplay styles are in some way available in the Switch version. And for a game that's so weirdly, it's like a weird RTS hybrid, isn't it? There's nothing really like it, apart from Hotel Transylvania 3 on Nintendo Switch, which is a game that I reviewed a couple of years ago, and it's actually an extreme Pikmin rip-off.
I've seen this.
It's actually decent. It's actually decent, yeah. So
I've seen acclaimed Muppet, a kind of akin YouTuber Arlo talk at length about Hotel Transylvania 3, because it is literally a Pikmin game.
It's actually quite fun as well. So I would recommend it, but I mean, Pikmin comes out in a matter of days, so
yeah, probably not.
Probably not at this
if
point.
you can't afford it, then you can buy it. Hotel Transylvania.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for all those Hotel Transylvania fans out there, I mean, it's
and if you've been sleeping on Pikmin, this is a really good time to get in on it. Like, I'm excited to get it, but more so, I'm excited to see other people who haven't played it before play it, because I stream on Twitch, but also I like to watch a lot of people on Twitch. And I know a lot of the people I watch are going to be playing this for the very first time, because a lot of people are going to be streaming it and they'll be like, "Ooh, it's popular, let me try it," and they'll be like, "Oh, it's actually really good." So I'm excited for that. And then when everyone has it, I'll be able to play co-op with them, because now we have co-op. So I'm excited for that, even though the Rona will keep us apart.
I don't think we have online co-op, do we? I think it's local.
No, but I have a couple of
battle,
I have a couple of friends in my bubble of people who will probably have it, and then we'll have bingo battle. And then co-op isn't going anywhere when the world gets safer, and then everyone will have it. And I'm excited to play some Pikmin with my friends.
I was going to say, go on. The only thing I want to say is, in terms of online multiplayer, that is one of the reasons I'm so excited about Super Mario 3D World. I'm sure local multiplayer was decided on with Pikmin probably a year ago, so they couldn't have seen what was going to happen. But Super Mario 3D World having online multiplayer, if it works and it's not like Mario Maker, is going to be a game changer. I'm so excited for that.
Yeah, definitely going to hop on and play.
That's going to be absolutely horrendous, isn't it? Really, it's one thing to play New Super Mario Brothers with 4 people, but when you're playing in a 3D space, like I remember trying to show my parents how to my brothers and stuff, and all of us at once, and we're just smashing on each other's heads, spin attacking each other, grabbing each other's power-ups and stuff. It's just absolute
such a good game though, because of the chaos.
It's gonna be quite intense, I think, to play, especially if there's no ranking system where you're playing with people who are so much better than you. It's gonna be quite hard, I think. I'm really looking forward to Pikmin as well, because I've never played a Pikmin game before, and I played the demo.
Nice.
Absolutely loved it. I really, really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to like diving in and playing more of it. Really,
There's nothing not to love. The only thing I didn't like about the original, I played the vanilla game without the DLC, was that it was too short.
Yeah.
I wanted more.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect point to join. Anybody who hasn't played a Pikmin game before and is listening, this is a very good opportunity to jump into the series. You don't need any prior knowledge.
Nope.
And if you want to know more about the series, this version of the game actually adds a lot of different missions that include Olimar and add a lot of kind of the missing stories. So this is kind of a like previously on Pikmin as well as an entry point to the series. So I think Nintendo have clearly looked at Pikmin 3, have gone, okay, let's fine tune it and see what we can do to make it the most accessible, the most customizable, and the best way to introduce this series to everyone. And I think this is one of the best, if not the best, definitive editions we've seen in this era.
Yeah, I think like we this is another thing that I touched on in that feature that I've done for Switch Player, but we didn't necessarily have that. We had the core audience on the Wii U, but we didn't necessarily have that massive number of people that could back Pikmin, and now we have that on the Switch, and we could. This is why I'm buzzing to see everyone else play it, like you say, Anna, because I'm hoping it's going to have the same Animal Crossing effect, where Animal Crossing is now the biggest Animal Crossing game that's ever come out. Hopefully this is the biggest Pikmin game that's ever come out, and hopefully now it's going to be a mainstay Nintendo IP. So
I don't think we're going to see an Animal Crossing. I think
I just mean in the sense of like
no.
best selling version of
smash hit.
What I'd love to see is a repeat of Luigi's Mansion. It's releasing on the same day of the year. Nintendo themselves are clearly hoping for the same thing. And I think they are kind of, and again, it's a third entry. Well, it really is a real parallel. I think Nintendo themselves are hoping that this is the chance that Pikmin 3 should have had.
Exactly.
So right, let's move on to the most important part of the podcast, the quiz.
God, no.
I'm dreading this, man.
So if you're regular listeners to the podcast, you'll know that Nathan does a quiz pretty much every week. But seeing as we're talking about Pokemon this episode, and I'm sure you've discovered throughout the course of the podcast, I know next to nothing about Pokemon. So I'm taking over the role of Quizmaster this week to test everyone's poké-knowledge. So I've got a little quiz. It's kind of it's in two parts. The first part is drug or Pokemon. So I'm going to read out a name.
Sorry, what?
It's drug or Pokemon. So it's not going to be like cocaine or this. It's going to be, I'm going to read out a name and you have to tell me.
That's a Gen 5 one, that, isn't it? Cocaine.
Yeah. I love this because for the old Hokies that don't know Pokemon, they're going to be like,
so
I don't know.
You've got a 50-50 chance. I'm pretty sure you'll all kind of ace this one.
This one I'm okay with.
So I'm going to read out a name of it could be a Pokemon, it could be a drug, and you have to tell me which one it is.
Okay.
So I'll kick off with our guest, Ethan. So first of all, is this a drug or a Pokemon? Seabri. So SEEBRI. Drug or Pokemon?
Jeez.
It's tough.
I know C-Dot, I know Shiftry. I'm gonna say it's a drug, unless it's a new gen Pokemon. I'm gonna say it's a drug. Is it a drug?
It is. You got a point there. Congratulations. So Nathan, moving on to you. Toxapex, drug or Pokemon?
It's a Pokemon.
Correct. Very well done. I got them. I got these all wrong.
I knew these last two. Now you're going to give me the hard one, right?
Which one's Toxapex? Is that related to Toxicroak?
Seventh generation poison water, apparently.
Toxapex is the one that looks like a barnacle. It's kind of got like a lid over it, and it lifts up one flap, and there's a poison Pokemon within it.
Oh, okay. Sun and Moon, is it?
Yes, it was added in Sun and Moon, but it's also in Sword and Shield.
So Ethan's got a point. Nathan's got a point. Can Anna get a point? Pokemon or drug? Swirlix.
Oh, that's a Pokemon.
Correct. So
what would the effects of that drug be though? If it was, that would be something you'd take before going to the club, I would imagine.
No, that's something that has to do with making your stool loose.
What a beautiful image you've conjured up there. So, Ethan, next one. Drug or Pokemon? Rydapt. R-Y-D-A-P-T.
That is either a drug or a Galarian evolution of Rhydon, but I'm going to go with drug.
Correct. So you have
Nice.
2 points. Nathan, Gliscor. Gliscor. Pokemon or drug?
It's pronounced Gliscor.
Ooh, he knows too much.
It's the evolution of Gligar.
Well, a point to you. There we go.
Oh,
Everyone's got it right so far. This is too easy. Wait till the
It's
next
not
round.
Leviosa.
We don't know anything about Pokemon. We're just all drug addicts.
Yeah.
So,
You know all the kind of drugs.
I'll tell you if it isn't a drug. Yeah.
That's definitely not a drug.
So Anna, this is the level with the boys. Fusion. Fuzeon. Drug or Pokemon?
Can you spell it again? Country of origin.
Fusion. Fuzeon.
I'm gonna go with my gut because every time Ethan got one that was a drug, it was like, but is that a Pokemon? And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I don't I recognized most of all of the Pokemon names immediately, so I'm gonna go ahead and say that that's a drug.
Correct. So everyone has points.
Yeah, you beat
Very good.
I'm faking out now. I'm faking out. There you go.
Every time I hear a drug, I'm like, that could be a Pokemon name.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's not because it doesn't click for me.
I think I would have gone with Pokemon on that one, so rather you than
Oh,
me.
there we go.
I was racking my brain like, have I missed
Yeah.
one?
That to me,
Exactly.
that sounded like a Pokemon name. So I
It
was like, I'll
does.
throw that in there.
You gave me a hard one.
I'll do one more round of this. So Ethan, Absol. So Absol. Pokemon or drug?
Absol is a beautiful Hoenn. Normal? Is it a normal type or it's a dark type? Isn't it?
It's a dark type.
Pokemon.
It's pure
Yeah.
dark.
And a lovely Mega Evolution as well.
I had to
Man.
hide my face because I'm like, if he doesn't know it, I'm gonna smile because Absol's beautiful, and I'm gonna go, oh, I love Absol.
You all know your Pokemon too well. So Nathan, your next Pokemon or drug? Decadron.
Can you spell that for me?
Decadron.
Can you use it in a
Drug.
sentence?
I caught that Decadron.
Yeah,
Or
That's
I took
a-
that Decadron.
that's a drug.
Correct.
Again, that was a hard one.
So Ethan's got 3, Nathan's got 3. Can Anna get 3? Clastion. Clastion. Drug or Pokemon?
Drug.
Correct. Everyone is equal after that round. 3 points each. And now we're going to move on to the audio round, where we're gonna listen to the battle cries of Pokemon from Sword and Shield, and you're gonna see if you can correctly identify what they are.
This is where it's going to go so wrong.
I think this is going to be the hard bit.
If this isn't multiple choice, I'm gonna
Both
be like,
headphones. Both
Pikachu?
headphones are going in for this one.
It's not multiple choice, so it's
What?
it's
I
gonna be
don't
hard.
have an encyclopedic knowledge of.
But judging by the first round, everyone does. So
I'm not afraid to know the
No!
names.
I'm gonna close
No,
my.
but-
I'm gonna close my eyes, so I feel like I'm. I feel like I'm
no.
there.
do whatever you need to do
In
to
the
get into
midst- in the midst
zone.
of battle.
Okay.
So when you say these are from Sword and Shield, are these Gen 8 additions or are these Pokemon included in Sword and Shield?
These are Gen 8 additions.
Okay, thank you.
That's hard, isn't it?
So just to give you an example, I'm going to play you a sound. So if I was to play you this sound,
Pikachu!
That's a Gliscor. That.
Ooh.
It's actually
You're not going to do
Gliscor.
very well. I don't know my Pokemon. Ethan, this is the first one for you. Can you identify this battle cry?
Oh, jeez. I am thinking. Oh, that could be anything, couldn't it? That could be a starter. Or I haven't got a clue to answer, so I'm just gonna give it a little guess. But I'm gonna go Corvisquire.
Incorrect. It's
Oh.
Cinderace. So let me just let me just play that
I'm
for you
feeling
again.
it was a fire Pokemon because you can hear the
Yeah,
stuff
I
in the
thought
back.
fire, but then I
Okay,
thought that
okay.
was something taking off in flight. So that's why.
But like
Ah.
again, Cinderace, if you said it in the drug thing, I'd be like, that's a Pokemon. But like
Yeah.
off the top of my head, there's no way I could conjure that name. So this is gonna be
Yeah, I've gone the completely other way now. Drug
Yeah.
Pokemon was easy, and now
Yeah.
it's just like rock hard.
Nervous.
So Nathan, here you go. Here's your Pokemon battle cry.
Oh God, that sounds icy. That sounds big.
Oh, I like your analysis here.
I'm gonna go with.
Do you want to play it again? Just so you've
Yeah,
got
one
a-
more time.
Okay, here we go. Let me just put this back.
I'm gonna go with Octovish.
It's Zacian.
Oh, that's
Wanna-
gutting.
I thought that because it sounded like it was drawing a sword, but I only got that from the second time it was played.
Ah, okay.
That sounded
okay.
icy to me.
Yeah,
Icy,
it did
yeah.
sound icy to me
All right,
as well.
I'm
I
gonna
like your keen ear.
David
Anna, here-
Blaine. I'm gonna be like psychic. All right.
Yeah, here's what you got to shut out all other kind of like stimulus. You've just got to use your ears. Here's your battle cry. Do you want it again?
No, I just need to conjure up my knowledge of those burbs.
Let me play it one more time for you.
Thank you. I really needed that. I could probably look at a list and tell you, but I can't even think of a name. I have no idea. I have literally no clue. Maybe that's Corvisquire.
You are so close. It's Corviknight.
Oh my god, it was Corviknight!
Yeah.
I
so
thought Corviknight
close.
would have something a little more like big than.
Let's
like,
play it
it's
one
a
more
big,
time.
That's
like-
everything, though, isn't it? 9 out of 10 Pokemon cards. is just-
Yeah, it's such bigger ones.
So,
like
I think
Corviknight's
that's the
one of
closest
best
anyone's
Pokemon
got
of the
so
game.
far.
That's not bad.
Okay, Ethan, here's your next one.
That
One more
sounds familiar. Yeah.
Well, here we go. One more time.
Oh, jeez. See, that sounds familiar to me, but that sounds like a. So that I'm thinking it's going to be a Galarian variation. Is it? Berserker. I'll go Berserker.
You were close. It's Galarian Ponyta.
Whoa, which one's that?
Ponyta.
Ponyta.
Oh, that's it, that's
Oh, I forgot. Oh well.
Yeah, I'm terrible at
You were
pronunciation.
so on the right lines. That's
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
Close.
When you were like Galarian.
I
form, was like,
I recognized it as an original cry. So obviously.
Oh, there you go. Keen ears. Let's just listen to it one more time.
Just to rub it in. Go on.
So Nathan, here's your one.
Ooh.
They're
I
quite.
think I know it. I think I know
fast.
which one that. I think I know what
Oh
that
God.
is.
Go on,
Pick a
one more
name.
time.
I
One more
think I
time.
know that
One
one too.
Oh, oh God, I've got no idea for that one. Is that Surfetched?
It's a Galarian wheezing.
I knew it.
Did you guys get that?
I had.
I was
Galarian-
gonna guess
know-
it.
I had Diglett, but that's a Alolan, isn't it? So never mind.
Oh, it sounded almost like a quack in my head.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my
Close,
god!
close.
I was like, it's coughing or wheezing.
Oh, you're so
Oh my
right.
God.
I'm gutted.
Oh.
So here we go, Anna. Here's your one. Here's the second one for you.
It's a fairy
Any clue?
type.
Oh, there we go. One more
Let's hear it
time.
again. I have no goddamn clue.
It's anyone else? Anyone else know what it is?
Is it
I
the
have
mushroom? The
literally
mushroom
no
one?
clue.
I don't know what it's called, but the little mushroom guy.
The bomb mushroom thing.
Is
It's
it-
Eldegoss.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have. You gave them both remake Pokemon. Ugh,
Please, it's at random. I'm sorry. It's at
it's
random.
random. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
I'm
I'm
sure.
kidding.
We didn't
kidding.
make you feel any better. We didn't get it.
I would have gotten them both wrong anyway.
So far, everyone got all points in the first round, and so far, no one's got any points in this round.
It's taken a turn.
Yeah. So at the moment,
We
it's going to
did
be
half
score.
points.
It's going to be score draw. So I think for this for this is the final round. If you know it and the person whose turn it is doesn't get it, you can steal for a point.
Ooh.
I'm going to say. So here we go, Ethan. This is your final Pokemon.
Ooh, oh, now this is the thing, because this is going to be either. I can't remember the first evolution's name. I know Dubwool is the. Oh, Wooloo, is that it?
I was like,
Which one are you going to go for? I'll just play it one more time just so you can.
I'm going
to
go. Oh no! Does that sound aggressive or not? Because if it's not aggressive, it's going to be the first evolution. But I'm going to go Wooloo.
Incorrect.
Oh.
well, he said the other one.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. Anyone else in a bit?
Yeah, I was going to give it to anyone else because someone could have like snatched the point there.
Yeah.
So Nathan,
was it Dubwool?
It's Dubwool. Yeah.
Well, I had one of them on my team.
You were very,
that doesn't
very
sound
close.
aggressive enough for a second evolution, does it?
Yeah. So Nathan, this is your one.
Oh,
that was horrible.
Get a bit more in there, a bit more sound. So yeah, one more time.
sounds a little bit like rocks moving. So I'm gonna say, is that colossal?
Incorrect. Would anyone else like to have a guess? I'll play it one more time for you.
Yes. Can I say Incineroar?
Ethan, what are you saying?
I will say. Oh, but this is a Galarian Pokemon, isn't it?
Oh, is that?
I was going to say Muck. I was going to say Muck, but I will say.
I said Incineroar. Whoops. Okay.
I ain't got a Bobby Zamora, so I'm going to say. Corvisquire.
Okay, I have to think of a Galarian Pokemon.
I'll play it one more time for you.
Oh, I bet I know which one it is now.
Any idea, Anna?
There's the oh my gosh, yes. I just can't remember the name of them. There's a line of lion Pokemon in the new games. And I can't remember their names, and unfortunately that doesn't do me any good.
I'm going to say everyone's wrong. It was Dreadnought.
Oh, definitely wrong.
Nathan, were you close or?
No, I was gonna say Runerigus, the one that's like made of slabs.
Dreadnought.
The amount of them I've ran away from as well. You would have thought I'd know the cry.
Dreadnought, yeah.
So this is the final one for you, Anna, and the final chance for someone to win the game. Otherwise, it's going to be a score draw. Here we go.
Okay.
The pressure is on.
It's on.
One more time for you. Any idea what that is? I'll give you one more.
I hear water. I have no clue. I have no clue. I can't even venture a guess.
Guys, Eddie, you wanna?
I'm gonna say the water. It's the water. It's either is it Jupiter or Araquanid? Is it the one where it's like the spider with the big bubble of water?
They're Sun and
I'm
Moon.
gonna say that. Are they? Oh,
Yeah.
never mind.
Yeah, that's when I was like, oh, Incineroar. Why'd I say that?
Is
One
it?
more time. Here you go.
Can I make a guess?
Yeah, sure.
Is it Pin Urchin?
No, it's Poltergeist.
Oh man!
So I'll just play it one more time for you.
I have so many not Poltergeist, the pre-evolution, because I shiny hunted for a Sinistea, and it took me really long. It took me a large amount of time to do that. So I've got a load of Sinestees, but I've got one Poltergeist, and he's shiny.
Well, so there we go. I've learned. I made the first round too easy, and the second round
God.
too hard.
That was
So
If
it's
anyone
a score
got,
draw.
if anyone listening along got them, and let us know as well, because I would be interested to know if anyone got
massive
them.
respect. What I might do is I might put it on Twitter. I might put it on the Switch Player account and see if anyone can kind of.
I think the ones, the easiest ones were definitely the ones where it was the cries from Gen 1. And we're like, easy, I know that. Like, that's a Gen 1 cry, which narrows it down a lot.
Yeah.
But everyone, so it's draw. Everyone got 3 points, so that's a good result. I think I feel like everyone is even in their Pokemon knowledge, apart from me, obviously, because I couldn't even pronounce the Pokemon. So
I feel so bad. I was taking the mick. I literally told you. I told you before we started that like every single Pokemon, someone pronounces it differently somewhere. So don't worry. Like, there's so many that only when I watched the anime, I was like, wait, people don't say Gyarados.
I guess there's so many to remember as well, isn't there? So originally I was going to do the battle cries from all 900. I was just going to pick like random ones. I was like, maybe I should.
I'm glad you didn't.
Down. Yeah,
that would have
exactly.
been a lot
Otherwise,
harder. That would have been so much harder.
Or if you'd done the original 151, that would have been
interesting.
Maybe next time we do a Pokemon quiz, maybe we can do that. We can do the original one.
Or like all starters or something like that, or something where it narrows it down a little bit.
I threw Cinderace in there. I thought maybe that was kind of, that was a little bit of an easy one, but oh well, never mind. Anytime. That kind of wraps it up for another week in Nintendo Land. Thank you so much for joining us, and Ethan, Nathan, Anna, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us about Pokemon and Fire Emblem and all Pikmin as well.
Yeah, it was another Pokemon heavy week. So what I'm gonna say right now is, next week, no Pokemon chat.
Draw a line under it.
No chat about limited releases unless Nintendo remakes Mother 3 and it's only available until December. Like that's because we love Anata. This is it. No more Pokemon chat until the next game.
And also Switch Pro. The Switch Pro seems to come up every week. So until it's announced,
this is where a Pokemon Sapphire Switch Pro edition gets a limited release on it.
So it's been great, and we'll be back next Monday with more analysis and discussion on all the big Nintendo news. So we'll see you then. Bye bye.